The small human ship shook as it crashed through the atmosphere of Keller 9. Fire streaked across the sky as metal tore and alarm screamed inside. Ethan Cole held tightly to the pilot controls, his jaw clenched, eyes focused. The planet below was a blur of green fog, black trees, and broken land. Ethan knew this planet was marked dangerous. Keller 9 was once home to alien life, but was now dead and forgotten. Or so the report said. His ship, the Pathfinder, had taken a hit during a skirmish near the border. With fuel gone and systems failing, Keller 9 was the only choice. The Pathfinder slammed into the dirt and skidded along a ridge, breaking trees and rocks before it finally stopped. Smoke filled the air. Ethan unbuckled, limped out of the smoking cabin, and looked around. The sky was a sickly green. Strange plants grew from the cracked ground, glowing faintly in the mist. He checked the scanner. The rest of his crew had escaped. In pods, he was alone. Injured and trapped. For hours, Ethan gathered supplies from the wreck. Food, water, tools. He patched his side where metal had cut deep. Blood soaked his shirt, but he kept moving. He had survived worse. He was a soldier once. Survival was in his bones. As night came, the fog grew thicker. Strange sounds echoed through the trees. Clicks, hisses. Something was nearby. Ethan raised his small plasma rifle and followed the noise. Something was moving just beyond the ridge. He climbed the slope, careful not to make noise. That's when he saw her. A figure lay on the rocks, breathing hard. Her skin was silver blue, smooth and glowing slightly. 4 fingers on each hand, and long dark hair tangled with moss. She had markings on her arms, old tattoos that pulsed dimly. One leg was twisted badly. Her eyes were shut. Ethan blinked. A VIR Ellen thought he had seen them in battle before. Fast, deadly. Most humans feared them. Some called them monsters. This one looked broken. She wasn't moving. He stepped closer. Her chest was rising and falling. Still alive. Ethan could have left. She was the enemy, but something in him said no. She was hurt, and she needed help. That was enough. He set down his gun, opened his medkit, and began cleaning the wound on her leg. The alien hissed, eyes snapping open. Bright gold eyes stared at him with fury. Her hand shot up and grabbed his throat. Ethan didn't fight. He held still. Let go, he said softly. I'm helping. Her fingers trembled. She looked down at her leg, then at the blood on his hands. Human, she whispered, voice rough like broken glass. Why help me? Ethan shrugged. You're hurt. Doesn't matter who you are. She looked confused. Then she let go of his throat. Ethan worked in silence. He tied a splint to her leg using metal rods and cloth. She watched him closely but didn't stop him again. When he finished, he sat back and drank from his water pouch. He offered it to her. She hesitated, then took it and drank. Name? She asked. Ethan. You? She paused. Lareva. They sat together. In silence, the fog swirling around them. Why are you here, Lareva? Ethan asked. Ship crashed. Same as you. Weeks ago. I am only one left. You've been alone this whole time? She nodded slowly. Ethan looked around. This planet wasn't safe. If she had survived here for weeks, she was tougher than she looked. Lareva leaned back, closing her eyes. You should have killed me. I would have killed you. Maybe, Ethan said, but I didn't. She opened her eyes again. Strange creature, human. Ethan smiled a little. You have no idea. Far in the distance, a sharp scream echoed through the mist. Both of them turned. Lareva's eyes narrowed. It hunts at night. The machine. What kind of machine? Old, angry, protects ruins nearby. Killed my crew. I escaped. Ethan stood. Then we better move. Can you walk? She tried to stand, then stumbled. Ethan caught her. Lean on me. We'll find shelter. Lareva looked at him again, as if trying to read his mind. You are strange. Not like others. Good. I'm tired of being. Like others, together they moved through the dark fog. 2 enemies, 2 survivors. The night watched them from the trees. Ethan helped Lareva walk as the green fog thickened around them. Her weight was light, but her steps were slow and painful. The planet was quiet except for the soft crack of dead branches under their feet and the far-off hum of strange insects. Down a broken wall, part of an old building covered in moss and vines. It wasn't much, but it gave them cover. Ethan lowered Lareva onto a flat stone and looked around. "Rest here," he said. "I'll keep watch." Lareva nodded, breathing heavily. Her leg throbbed under the splint. Her golden eyes followed Ethan as he checked the area, setting small traps and placing warning lights. When he sat beside her again, she spoke. "You are not afraid of me." "No," Ethan said simply. "Should I be?" She gave a small, sharp laugh. "Most humans fear my kind. We are faster, stronger. You are ... softer. Soft doesn't mean weak," he said. "And I've met humans scarier than you." She looked at him for a long moment. "You were a soldier." Ethan nodded. "A long time ago. You fought against us." "I did." "And now you help me?" He took a breath. "War made me do many things. But war is over. I don't want more enemies." "Not if I can help it." Lareva turned her gaze toward the fog. "Your people bombed this world, burned it, poisoned it." "Only after your people took ours and never gave them back," Ethan said. "Both sides did terrible things." Silence filled the air again. Somewhere in the distance, a strange howl rose and faded. Lareva closed her eyes. "I lost 2 sisters. They served the fleet. They never came back." Ethan looked at her. "I lost a brother. Same way." She opened her eyes again, meeting his. For the first time, there was no anger in them. "You speak truth? I feel it." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You can feel it?" "My kind reads emotions. Not words, feelings. Yours are ... strange." "How so?" "They are strong, but calm, like ... a storm waiting." Ethan gave a tired smile. "That's a new one." The night grew colder. Ethan shared a heat pack with her, placing it between them. The warmth spread slowly. "I used to hate your kind," Lareva said softly. "I still carry that hate inside me, but now I wonder why." "I used to feel the same," Ethan replied. "But I got tired of hating ghosts." Lareva looked at the stars barely visible through the mist. "Do your people still want war?" "Some do," Ethan said. "But most want peace." "We're tired." "We've lost too much," she nodded slowly. "So have we." They sat quietly for a while. Then Ethan stood and walked to a nearby tree. He pulled off some thick bark and crushed it in his hand. A sweet smell filled the air. "Food?" Lareva asked. "No, medicine. Might help with your leg." He mixed the crushed bark with water and made a paste. Carefully, he applied it to her. Wound. She hissed in pain, but didn't pull away. "You know plants?" she asked. "A little. My mother was a field doctor. Taught me a few things. Your mother raised a fighter with soft hands." Ethan chuckled. "Yeah, she never liked that I joined the army. Did she survive the war?" He paused. "No. She died during the bombings." Lareva lowered her head. "I am sorry." "Thank you," he said quietly. Suddenly, a red light on one of Ethan's sensors blinked. Something was nearby. Ethan grabbed his rifle and crouched. Lareva sat up, alert. "It's the machine." They heard heavy steps, metal grinding. The sound of gears turning. A large shadow moved through the mist, slow but steady. Ethan pulled Lareva behind the wall. The machine walked past them tall, 2-legged, with glowing red eyes and a rusted body. Its arms were sharp like blades. It turned its head slightly, scanning the area, then kept moving. After it was gone, Ethan let out a breath. "What is that thing?" "A guardian, left from the ancient ones. It protects the ruins, kills all who enter." "How did you survive?" "Before, I ran, hid. Others were not as lucky." Ethan looked at the path it took. We'll have to find another way around. There's a cave to the east, Lareva said. Old and dark, but safe. I can lead you. Ethan nodded. Then we'll go there at first light. He sat beside her again. Lareva leaned back and closed her eyes. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For not being what I expected. Ethan looked at the stars. Neither are you. The morning on Keller 9 was dark and quiet. Thick green fog still covered the ground, and the trees stood like tall, twisted bones. Ethan and Lareva moved slowly. Her leg was still weak, and she leaned on him for support. They walked east, careful to avoid open paths. The machine from last night could return. Lareva guided them through a narrow trail between rocks and glowing plants. The ground was wet and soft, but they made steady progress. Ethan kept his rifle close. He didn't trust the planet. Every sound felt like a warning. A branch cracked. A low growl echoed in the distance. But nothing attacked. After hours of walking, they reached the entrance of the cave. It was hidden behind large roots and thick vines. The opening was narrow and dark, almost invisible from a distance. Lareva stepped inside first. This way. Careful of the stones. They are sharp. Ethan followed, crouching low. The inside was cold and damp. Drops of water fell from the ceiling. The walls glowed faintly with strange crystals. They walked deeper until they found the dry, flat space where they could rest. Ethan set down his pack and turned on a small light. He checked Lareva's leg. The wound was healing, but slowly. He gave her food and water. You've done this before, she said, watching him. Too many times, Ethan replied. Lost in strange places, fighting to stay alive. Were you always a soldier? No, he said. I was a teacher once. Before the war. A teacher? Lareva looked surprised. Yeah, history. I wanted to help people learn from the past. But then you fought in the war. Sometimes the past doesn't stay in books, he said. She looked down. I studied human history once. We thought. Your kind would destroy itself, but you didn't, Ethan smiled. We try hard, but we keep surviving. Lareva sat back, staring at the crystal-covered walls. My people believed we were perfect. We didn't understand your kind. Still don't. You're not the only ones. We don't understand ourselves most days. They both laughed a little, the sound soft in the cold air. After they ate, Ethan began checking the cave for danger. He walked to the back and noticed something strange. A smooth wall, metal, not rock. Lareva, come look at this. She limped over and touched the wall. Her fingers moved over the surface. A soft light blinked. A door hissed open. Behind it was a narrow hallway made of black metal. Lights along the ceiling flickered to life. Symbols covered the wall's old language, unknown to Ethan. This is not a cave, she whispered. It's part of the old ones. Ethan stepped inside. The air was dry and warm. Dust covered the floor. They walked slowly, careful with each step. They found a room filled with old screens and control panels. Most were dead, but one screen still glowed. Lareva touched it, and strange letters appeared. What is it? Ethan asked. Records, she said. Memories from the machines. She pressed more buttons. A picture appeared on the screen. Humans in cages, being watched by Varellan soldiers. Ethan's face went still. Lareva stared at the image, her hands trembling. This is from the war. From our side. These were prisoners. More images appeared. Tess, pain. Some humans never made it out. Lareva stepped back, her eyes wide with shock. I didn't know. We were told they attacked first, that we were only defending ourselves. Ethan looked at her. I was told your people tortured us for fun. They both stood in silence. The truth between them felt heavy. It wasn't just one side, Ethan said. Both did wrong. She nodded slowly. But we must know, or we repeat it. More files loaded. One showed maps and the location of the Guardian machine. It had been placed to stop anyone from entering the ruins. A voice recording played. If any survivor tries to return, destroy them, human or not. Ethan looked at her. So it's not just after humans. No, it sees all as a threat. We need to shut it down. Lareva looked afraid. It's powerful, too strong. We don't have a choice. If we don't stop it, we can't lead this planet, and others might come. She looked at him for a long time. Then we do it together. Ethan nodded. Together. They sat in the metal room, looking at the old images, feeling the weight of old wounds. But something had changed. They were no longer just human and alien. They were two survivors holding pieces of a broken truth. And now, they had a mission. Ethan and Lareva left the metal room slowly. They walked back through the dark hallway and into the cave. The glow from the crystals was softer now, like the cave itself knew they had found something important. Lareva didn't speak for a long time. Her steps were quiet and her eyes stayed low. Ethan didn't push her. He knew what she had seen had shaken her deeply. They rested near the front of the cave again. Ethan checked the traps he had set outside. None had been touched. But he knew the machine was still out there, waiting. Lareva sat by the wall, her hands folded. We always believed the humans were the ones who started the war. But that lab, the images, we started it. Or at least we did terrible things before it truly began. Ethan sat across from her. I think we both believe what we were told. It's easier that way. But truth doesn't care who's right. She looked at him, her voice quiet. If my people knew the truth, maybe things would be different. Maybe, Ethan said. But not everyone wants truth. Some just want someone to blame. They were both quiet again. The silence between them was no longer cold. It was a space where understanding was slowly growing. Later that day, they left the cave and moved carefully through the forest. Lareva used her knowledge of the land to guide them. She pointed out hidden paths and strange plants. Ethan kept watch with his rifle. The map from the old records showed a control tower deep in the ruins. If they reached it, they could shut down the machine. The ground became rough. Metal beams and broken roads stuck out of the earth. The ruins were close. Strange buildings leaned sideways, half buried in vines and moss. As they got closer, they heard the sound again. Heavy steps, metal grinding. The Guardian was near. Ethan pulled Lareva in the cover. They crouched behind a stone wall as the machine passed. It moved slowly, scanning the area with red lights. It paused, turning its head. Ethan held his breath. Lareva touched his arm gently, her eyes focused. The machine moved on. When it was safe, they ran across the broken street and entered a low building. Inside were smashed chairs, broken lights, and old signs written in both Varellan and human script. This place was a meeting center, Lareva said. From before the war. They worked together. Ethan asked. For a time. Then fear grew. And fear turned to hate. Ethan looked around. Places like this remind me of what we lost. They found stairs leading underground. The control tower was nearby. Below. The air was dry and smelled of rust. They followed a long hall until they reached a round chamber with a single console. A red light blinked slowly on the screen. Lareva stepped forward. This is it. I can try to shut it down. Ethan stood guard as she worked. Her fingers moved over the controls, fast but careful. Strange symbols lit up. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. A sharp tone echoed through the hall. The machine is coming, she said. It knows we're here. Ethan aimed his rifle at the door. Hurry. The screen showed warnings in both languages. Defense mode active. System override denied. Lareva cursed softly. It won't listen to me. My code is too old. Then we fight, Ethan said. The ground shook as the machine approached. Metal steps grew louder. The door burst open, and the Guardian entered. Its eyes glowing red. Lareva stepped in front of Ethan. You'll die in moments. Human, she hissed. Ethan took off his jacket and tossed it aside. He stepped forward, calm and ready. Then you'll love my next trick. He fired at the machine's eye. The shot bounced off, but it slowed the Guardian. Lareva ran to the side, pulling wires from the wall. She tried to connect them to the console. Keep it busy, she shouted. Ethan ducked behind a beam as the machine swung its blade arm at him. Sparks flew as metal hit stone. He rolled and shot again, hitting a joint in its leg. Lareva screamed, "Now!" Ethan grabbed the power rod from his belt and jammed it into the machine's leg joint. It sparked and froze for a second. Lareva hit the final key on the console. The lights went out. The machine stopped. Smoke filled the room. The Guardian stood. Still, its eyes dark. Then it fell to one knee, then to the ground. Ethan leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Lareva walked over to him. "We did it." He nodded. "Together." She looked at the broken machine. "Maybe this is how it starts. Not with armies, but with two people." Ethan smiled. "One step at a time." Outside, the fog was clearing. The Guardian machine was no longer a threat. Its body lay broken on the floor, and the red lights in its eyes had gone dark. Ethan and Lareva stood beside it in silence. The air was still, but both of them knew their journey was not over. Lareva touched the console again. The screen showed a map of the ruins and something else, an energy signal deep below the surface. "There is something alive down there," she said. "Another system. Maybe another Guardian." Ethan frowned. "Do you think it will attack us too?" "I don't know," she said. "But if it wakes up, it could send a message. It could call others. Then, we need to shut it down." Lareva nodded slowly. "Yes, but we will need to go deep. This part of the ruin is older, forgotten even by my people." They left the control room and followed a metal tunnel that led underground. The walls became rougher the deeper they went. Pipes and wires hung loose. Lights flickered, and some went out completely. Ethan held a small light in one hand and his rifle in the other. Lareva walked beside him, her steps slower than before. Her wound was healing, but she was tired. "We should rest soon," Ethan said. "We're close," she replied. "I can feel it." The tunnel opened into a wide chamber. At the center stood a tall black column surrounded by floating machines. They were small, with blinking lights and tiny arms. "It's still active," Lareva whispered. The machines did not move toward them. They simply floated in place, watching. Ethan stepped forward. "Are these Guardians too?" "No," Lareva said. "They are recorders. They collect data and store memories." As they approached, the machines began to speak. Not in words, but in sounds and images. Lights appeared in the air scenes. From the past, humans and Varellans working together, sharing knowledge, building things side by side. Then the images changed. Fear, arguments, weapons, battles. The final image was of Killer 9 burning. Ethan's face grew hard. "So it all started here?" "Yes," Lareva said. "This was the first place we met." "And the first place we broke apart." One of the small machines floated toward them. It scanned Ethan, then Lareva. A soft tone played. "It's giving us access," she said, "to the heart of the system." A door opened behind the column. Warm air flowed out. Ethan and Lareva stepped through and entered the room filled with light. At the center was a chair and a control panel. The energy signal came from here. Ethan looked around. "What is this place?" "A command center," Lareva said. "Long before the war, our leaders came here to speak in peace. This place was meant to guide both our people." Ethan touched the panel. A new message appeared, written in both human and Varellan languages. "To whoever finds this," he read, "remember what we were. We were builders. We were dreamers. Let this be your new beginning." Lareva reached out and touched the same panel. Her hand glowed with soft light. The machines began to power down slowly. The floating ones returned to their places. The hum of the room became quiet. "You stopped the signal," Ethan said. "We did," Lareva replied. They stood together in the soft light. No more alarms. No more danger. Now what? Ethan asked. Now we send a message, she said, to both our people. They returned to the surface and made their way back to the crashed ship. It was still broken, but the communication system could be fixed. Ethan worked on the panel while Lareva gathered parts from nearby ruins. By nightfall, the signal tower was ready. Ethan stood beside it. What do we say? Lareva looked at the stars above. Tell them the truth, that we met here enemies. But we became something else. We found hope. Ethan nodded. He pressed the button. This is Ethan Cole, human survivor on Keller 9. I'm not alone. I stand with Lareva of the Varellans. We came here as enemies. We leave as friends. The war left scars, but this place, it still remembers peace. So do we. If you hear this, remember us. You let go of the button. The signal traveled far into the dark sky. Lareva smiled softly. Maybe someone will hear it. Someone will, Ethan. They sat by the fire, watching the sky. Far above, in ships orbiting silent stars, the signal reached human ears. And Varellan ones too. The next morning, soft rain fell over the ruins of Keller 9. It washed the dust from old stones and cooled the burned earth. Ethan stepped out of the broken ship and looked up at the sky. For the first time in days, the fog had cleared. He breathed deeply. The air was still strange, but no longer heavy. Something had changed. Not just in the air, but in him. Lareva stood near the edge of the forest, her eyes closed. The wind moved her dark hair gently. She looked peaceful. Ethan walked over. Sleep well? She opened her eyes. Yes. And you? Best sleep in days. They smiled. It was a quiet moment, and they both knew such moments were rare on Kale or -9. Later, they checked the signal tower. The small screen showed a blinking light. Someone received the message, Ethan said. Do you know who? Not yet, but someone out there heard us. They sat under the remains of an old roof and shared breakfast. Simple food, warmed over a small fire. The silence between them was no longer awkward. It was calm, like the start of something new. What will you do when help comes? Lareva asked. Ethan thought for a moment. I'm not sure. I guess I'll go. Home, if I still have one. You do, she said. You carry it inside you. He looked at her. What about you? My people will not believe me at first, she said. But I will show them what I've seen. I will tell them about you. Ethan smiled. Make sure you leave out the part where I almost fell off a cliff. She laughed, and it was the first time he had heard her truly laugh. It made the ruined world feel less broken. Later, they returned to the old command center beneath the ground. They had one more task: saving the files stored there. The truth of what had happened on Keller 9 needed to survive. Together, they moved through the metal halls. The recorder still floated, quiet now. The lights from the crystals lit their way. They reached the main console and copied the files to a portable drive. History, data, messages. All of it. These will help rebuild the truth, Lareva said. Even if it's hard to accept. It's the only way forward, Ethan agreed. Suddenly, the console beeped. A message appeared on the screen. It was human code. Rescue ship inbound. Arrival in 20 hours. Ethan read it out loud. They're coming. Lareva stepped closer. For you? For us. I said I wasn't alone. They looked at each other. For a long moment, neither spoke. There was joy in the message, but also fear. What would happen when the others saw her? Would they accept what she had become? What they had become? Back at the surface, they prepared a signal fire. Lareva used her tools to mark a landing zone. Ethan checked his gear and cleaned his rifle. Night came again. They sat near the fire, watching the stars. Lareva looked up. Do you think they will trust me? Ethan answered. They'll trust me, and I trust you. That's how it starts. She nodded. Trust is the first step. A quiet sound filled the night engines in the sky. Lights appeared high above, blinking slowly as the rescue ship entered the planet's orbit. Ethan stood. Lareva stood beside him. "Here they come," he said. The ship landed gently. Dust rose, and the engines went quiet. A door opened, and human soldiers stepped out. They pointed their weapons at first, unsure. Ethan raised his hands. "Stand down. I'm Ethan Cole. This is Lareva. She's with me." The soldiers paused. One stepped forward, a tall man with a scar across his cheek. "We got your signal," he said. "But why is there a Varellan with you?" Ethan looked at Lareva. "Because she saved my life, and I saved hers. She's not the enemy." "Not anymore." The man looked at Lareva, then back at Ethan. "You sure about that?" "Yes," Ethan said firmly. "We ended the threat here. We found the truth, and we worked together." More soldiers lowered their weapons. The tall man nodded. "All right, let's get you both off this rock." Ethan helped Lareva up the ramp. The rescue ship smelled like metal and clean air. It felt strange after so many days on Kale or -9 they sat side by side. No one else spoke to them yet, but no one stopped them either. As the ship rose into the sky, Keller 9 became smaller below them. The planet that tried to kill them had also saved them. Lareva looked out the window. "We are not the same people who crash here." "No," Ethan said. "We're something better." They sat in silence, side by side, heading toward a world that might not be ready for them, but would have to learn. The rescue ship flew through space, leaving Keller 9 behind. Ethan and Lareva sat quietly in the back. The other crew members on the ship whispered and watched them from a distance. No one said anything directly, but Ethan could feel their eyes. Looked at Lareva. She was calm, her hands resting on her lap. She stared out the window at the stars. She didn't speak, but Ethan knew her mind was full. After some time, a woman in a dark uniform approached them. She had short hair and sharp eyes. Her name tag said Captain Lee. "We read your report, Cole," she said. "It's hard to believe." Ethan nodded. "I understand, but it's all true." Captain Lee looked at Lareva. "And you trust her?" "With my life." Lareva met the captain's gaze. "I don't expect your trust, only your time." Captain Lee looked between them for a moment, then gave a short nod. "We'll listen. For now, both of you stay here. Command wants to speak with you when we land." The captain left, and the whispers grew quieter. A few hours later, the ship arrived at the human station in orbit around a larger planet. It was a busy place, full of lights, ships, and voices from different parts of the galaxy. As they stepped off the ship, security guards came forward. They didn't raise their weapons, but their hands stayed close to them. Ethan and Lareva were taken to a private room. It was clean and cold, with a long table and cameras in each corner. They waited. Then a screen lit up. A council of humans appeared. Some were in uniforms, others in civilian clothes. They looked serious. "Ethan Cole," one of them said, "you claim to have formed a peaceful bond with a Varellan. You also claim to have shut down a major threat on Keller 9. "Yes, sir. I did not do it alone. Lareva helped me. Without her, I would be dead." Another council member leaned forward. "Why should we believe her?" "Her kind started the war." Ethan took a breath. "That's what I thought too. But it's not the full truth. We found old records. On Keller 9, there were mistakes from both sides. Lies told by both leaders. We both lost people. We both suffered. But Lareva chose to save me, not kill me. That choice changed everything." The room was quiet for a moment. Then the first council member spoke again. "We will review your files. If what you say is true, this could be the first step toward peace. But many will not be ready." Ethan nodded. "I understand, but peace starts small. It starts with trust." They ended the call. Ethan and Lareva were led to a quiet living space on the station. It was simple but safe. For now, they were not prisoners. But they were not free either. That night, Ethan stood by the window, looking at the stars. Lareva joined him. Do you think they'll believe us? Some will. Some won't. But we did what we could. She nodded. My people will ask questions too. They will not understand. Then we tell them. We show them. One person at a time. Weeks pass. News of their story spread. Some called Ethan a traitor. Others called him a hero. The same happened to Lareva among her people. But slowly, messages began to arrive, humans and Virellans asking for more. Asking for truth. Meetings were planned. Talks were started. Not everyone agreed. Many still feared each other. But the first steps had been taken. Ethan and Lareva were asked to speak before a united council. It was the first time humans and Virellans sat in the same room without weapons. Ethan stood at the front. I fought in the war. I lost people. I believed the enemy was evil. But on Keller 9, I met someone who should have been my enemy. She became my friend. We both saw the lies. We both chose a better way. Lareva stood beside him. We are not here to forget the past. We are here to remember it honestly, so we do not repeat it. Some in the room clapped. Some stayed silent. But no one left. After the speech, Ethan and Lareva walked outside together. The air on the station was clean. The stars were bright. We started something, Lareva said. Yes, Ethan said. And now it's up to them to carry it forward. She looked at him. What will you do now? He smiled. Maybe teach again. Maybe help build something new. She nodded. Then I will stay. We started this together. We finish it together. And so, the human and the Virellans stood side by side, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as the first spark of a new future. One built on truth, trust, and hope.